the Fantasy Six Pack Hour with your hosts, Joe Bond and AJ Applegarth.
Touchdown!
All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, as usual, AJ Applegarth doing weird
just
things.
Getting focused.
Just I don't know. What are you like?
Focused.
Facebook poking me, or what? I don't know what's going on here.
Is that even a thing?
I just showed my age because that's not a thing anymore.
I was just like, and I just showed
Does
mine.
anybody else
being
remember
like,
the poke on Facebook? That was like the weirdest thing ever. Now that you think back on it, like we poked people.
Oh God.
Alrighty then.
Yeah. Moving.
All right. So that being said, we are on week 15, and we just had another 49ers touchdown, literally just now. A wide open George Kittle went down, broke a couple tackles, looking pretty good. San Fran is gonna, pending the extra point, be up 21-3. So good game by Brock Purdy. Glad I ended up pulling the trigger on him over Matt Ryan in a league where I lost Kyler Murray. So I was desperate in need of a good quarterback performance, and he's got 2 touchdowns for me so far on the night. So feeling pretty good there. So all right, so
Kittle.
Speaking of playoffs, because that's what we are in, we'll be talking some fantasy playoff strategy talk, some league losers, some league winners, going through my rankings, and then the injuries, of course. But before we get into all that, of course, got to remind you all, hit those subscribe buttons, hit those like buttons, leave those reviews, those 5 stars. We appreciate it. We love hearing from you, and it goes a long way in helping us out. And then, of course, guys, playoff time is here. I know you got this far, possibly without our help, but now's when the crunch time. You can't make the wrong decision, and lineup decisions are ever more important now. So jump in, become a member of Fantasy Six Pack at fantasysixpack.net/plans. Gets you access to our award-winning rankings, gets you access to us directly on Discord, where you can ask us literally anything you want. As far as your lineups, trades, of course, trades aren't really a thing now, but lineups, ad drops, whatever it is. And then look, if you are out of it, right, and you lost your entry fees, we do DFS, we do betting, so win your money back. We've got fantastic DFS and betting guys on our site. I know for a fact because they've helped me win money. And I'm not the biggest DFS or betting guy, but they are, and I've won money with their advice. But so jump into that. There you go. So, all right, man. Let's do our beer of the week.
Beer.
All right. And I got rid of the loop button. So, what do you got?
All right. Well, I am indulging in one of the many Christmas brews I bought for last weekend's little shindig up at the crib here that you attended with the wife. Great to see you guys. This one is called Missile Toad. It is a triple IPA from Evergreen Brewing Co. in Camp Hill, PA. And you got a toad riding a missile.
I vaguely remember having that one. I'm not going to lie. I
don't think it gets any clearer than that.
Did not actually
Except
mark
this
that
isn't
one.
very clear. No, I don't think we had this one.
No, I was going to say I did not mark it down. I did mark. So, as you know, but nobody else does, I end up going around and just trying a bunch of different beers. So I didn't have 7 beers while I was there. I had 7. I had little half pours of each one, and just ended up walking around just So I was able to like check off like 7 different beers at night, but I ended up only having like 4 ounces of each one. Not even that sometimes. But one of the ones I did have, and I liked it a lot. I think you had this one on the show already, but it's the New Trail Company Ugly Sweater. This is the Hazy Triple IPA, 11.2%. I gave it a 4 at your house. Let's see if I actually stands back up to that, because I don't really remember all of it. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Still good.
Still good. We're good. We're good, man.
I don't think I did have that on the show, but
I will, because you missed it last night. I did the special best ball recap show. I bought this beer yesterday, and just wanted to share it with you. It is the Goose Island Bourbon County. I guess Bourbon County is the actual like
Bourbon County Stouts is a series, so they have different flavored ones that they release.
Yeah.
So whatever's on the lower label might have.
So this was the stout aged in bourbon barrels. So this is just I don't even know. Like
I think that's all of them.
I don't know. It was really good. That's all I know. I gave it a 4.5. I've said many times I'm primarily IPAs. If I don't drink IPAs, it's usually like lager, something kind of basic. But stouts are not my thing. But these bourbon barrel aged stouts are actually starting to really grow on me. And I've had a couple in the last like month, and they are both very good. So it might be a new thing, but that was a $15 beer, so I don't think I'm buying that much. I'm sure I'll hear about that one from the wife very soon. She's gonna check the receipt and be like, "What did you just buy?" Yeah. Merry Christmas to me.
Nothing.
So, anyway, let's move on here. So, before we jump into league winners, league losers, that kind of stuff, let's just jump into some generic fantasy playoff strategy talk. And we've talked about this a little bit already on this show in previous weeks, but just kind of review it again, because in case you didn't see the shows or you forget or whatever, it always helps to go over it again. My number one thing with this is I would say don't get too cute, right, with your lineups, right? Yes, you are playing a little bit of like DFS type, strategy in the playoffs, and we'll get into some of that as we talk about league losers, league winners, that kind of stuff. But, you can't get too crazy and be like, oh, I'm going to start, DJ Chark over, I don't know, pick a decent receiver who might have had a couple down weeks or whatever, like, just because like he's hot and he's not, but like that's a little much for me, right? I know DJ Chark had a really good week, but like that's a little much, right? So you don't want to get too cute, but when you, I think those flex positions are the ones where you're going, okay, if it's not obvious, maybe you can, go, a little upside, go a little kind of, that's where I think you can play a little bit more. But that's kind of the only spot I'm doing it. People, I have questions. People are like, should I be benching Nick Chubb? And it's like, no, I get it, man. He's been super disappointing the last 2 weeks, but dude, you can't bench Nick Chubb. Dude, if you watch Nick Chubb go off and he's on your bench, you're going to be so pissed at yourself. Granted, you're going to be pissed if you start him and he does nothing, but man, he's more likely to do well than he is to repeat what he's done the last 2 weeks, in my opinion. That's just me. I could be wrong, but I don't know. I couldn't do something like that. But you got anything? I got more.
Yeah, I agree with the cuteness. I mean, you don't want to overthink things too much on this. I mean, we talk about it a lot. Usually, I don't know if we really dove into it too much this year, or if we did, maybe I missed that show. But I usually
Possible.
like to talk about, getting defensive matchups and stockpiling these defenses, well before the playoffs, not too far out, if you need bench spots and need players for buys and whatnot. But, once you're past the buys and all that, you really want to look ahead into the playoffs and try to see what matchups you can exploit. And it's not just defenses, it's players in general.
Yeah.
If
Be a step ahead.
Yeah.
Know your starting lineup.
Have
And
these guys that maybe you're not really playing a whole lot because maybe they haven't done much, or you just have other options that you like better and have had better matchups. So you don't have room to put these guys in the roster. But come playoff time, they have great matchups. And you do want to look at that and take that into account when you're setting your lineups. Obviously, it's a win or go home thing. So again, you need to just be smart about it and not overthink it and change everybody out. But you're still going to play the majority of your studs regardless of the matchups. Most of them are fairly matchup proof, although last week kind of effed a bunch of people when there was full lineups that posted less fantasy points than Evan Ingram. But
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so that's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna amend that just slightly, or at least add on to it a little bit, and say that yes, plan ahead, but also remember you still need to win this week, right? You can't over plan ahead, right? You still need to keep your best players for this week, but you also don't want to drop players just to plan ahead, who your opponent can then snatch up and play this week and beat you. So don't get stupid, right? You've got to, maybe one or two, I'm sure you've got some back end bench guys that are, just suck and, you don't have to worry about it. But I do have a question here before I get into another strategy topic. And Mike White or Derek Carr, he lost Lamar. Mitchell Sanders, thank you for the question. I'm going Mike White, man. I don't like Garrett Carr this week at all, really, man. I'm really down on him. New England likes to shut down people pretty good, so they're going to figure out a way to take away Devontae Adams, in my opinion. And we know what happens when Derek Carr cannot get the ball to Devontae. It is a bad day. So I'm in on Mike White.
Yeah, I agree.
At least in that scenario.
I love the picture there, Mitchell. Go Birds. Looks like that's a Westbrook jersey, I'm guessing. Yeah, I like White too. Carr's been okay, but if he's not,
he's very up and down, yeah.
Yeah, if he's not really doing much with Devontae, like you said, he doesn't really have a lot of other weapons. I mean, he has them, he's just not using them. So,
and look, I mean, I know the Lions are playing better, but I mean, they're still not like a juggernaut, defense here. So, I do like. Oh, sorry, you guys were yelling at me about my mic. I didn't realize it. I thought you were just trying to tell me there was a comment. We're good now, or is it back? Does it suck?
It's okay for the moment.
For the moment
All
being.
Right.
Yes.
Yell at me if it does go bad again. All right. So moving on. So my next strategy thing here is so you went through the handcuff thing and maybe stashing some defenses. My next one is another strategy, and AJ, I did it to you 3 years ago to actually win our final. I blocked you and picked up a couple guys who I know you desperately needed. Do that. If your opponent lost a running back, you don't need a running back. Screw it. Drop some receivers who they may not even need at all. Drop a second tight end. Drop whatever. Go snatch to those running back running backs up that they can pick up and play. And, you may not use them because you've got better running backs, but guess what? They can't use them either. And so that's an advantage to you. So that is something where at this point in the season, you are blocking pickups because you're not playing for the future. You're playing for this week. So you've got to figure that out.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely on board with that. More so when I get to use it against other people and not have it used against me. So
again, did I get you? Did I get you on
ahead,
Gesicki? Is that what it was?
Two.
You wanted Gesicki? Was that one of the pickups? I do know that
you had Gesicki, but I had Fitz.
Yeah, but I don't remember if you wanted to get Gesicki and I ended up getting him. I mean, I ended up using Gesicki too. That was a funnier thing. But
I don't remember.
But yes, I've done that many times. People have done it to me. Actually, in the league where I'm using Brock Purdy because I lost Kyler, a couple of the other managers in the playoffs are they realize that me and Rob Wozniak needed a quarterback, and they're like, "Oh, we're just gonna go pick up all the quarterbacks." And I was like, "Well, we already got 3, so have fun." We picked up Matt Ryan, Brock Purdy, and I said, "Screw it!" I picked up Desmond Ridder. I didn't use Ridder, but I was like, if he goes balls out, and I just, and I make it past this week, then I'm gonna,
why not?
Then I'll use him, maybe next week. But I ended up playing Brock Purdy this week, and that's looking like a pretty nice start considering what my options were for sure at this point. So you got anything else? I'm kind of out of, I feel like, we've gone over the, look at matchups,
we've talked
look at strategy
I think it's
or schedules, but
if you're in the playoffs, you obviously should have, an idea of what the hell you're doing here. So
hopefully I would say that's
yeah,
rankings are important, right? Just like any other week, but you don't need to be a rankings whore, right?
True.
Just like any other week, right? Use the rankings as a guide. No rankings are 100% ever. Use it as a guide. If you need to go a little upside over somebody else, or you just like somebody more than the rankings would say, use your gut. You got here. It's your team. You make the decision. That's probably the last piece of advice I would give before we can jump into our playoff winners and losers. And Mike's going to lead here the conversation. And I think we're starting off with losers. Start with bad news, I guess.
We're going to start with bad news and end with good news. We want to end on a good note. All right.
Sure.
So we're going to start off with our first playoff loser. All right. And his name is Mike Evans. All right. And just to give you a little bit of context here of how Mike Evans has been doing the past couple weeks.
Give the stats, jerk.
All right. Well, I was just going to.
I have something to talk about. You give all the data. The guy doesn't talk about. We're gonna be like, yeah, we agree.
No data. Just going to tell you his wide receiver position the past 3 weeks.
Well, that was the data, you jerk.
You can say the points and all the data that's trending, whatnot. But, let's just say it's not very good. Wide receiver 73. But, Joe, give us a little bit of information here on why he's been trending down and why we should maybe think about sitting him in the playoffs.
Why he's trending down? This offense is just not scoring points. We've seen it across the board here. The Tampa Bay offense has been bad for quite a while. Trying to think of their last their schedule here over the last few weeks. So they've scored 20-ish points at best for the last 4 or 5 weeks. And then last week they put up a big old 7 against these 49ers that we're watching right now. It's been brutal, man. Ever since they put up 31 on October 2nd against the Chiefs, it has been bad news for the Bucs. And, I don't know if Brady's losing it or if it's just a combination of the team's not really healthy. The offensive line is in shambles. But let's just put it this way: in half PPR, Mike Evans' weekly finishes have been 49, 45, 74, 44, 34 the past 5 weeks. Look, I know the upside and what he can do, but at some point, the data is pointing to he is no longer a must start. To also put it into perspective, he has been a wide receiver one time this season in half PPR. And when that Kansas City game in week 4, he actually finished as the top wide receiver that week. Other than that, he's been a wide receiver 2 3 times. And then he's been outside of wide receiver 3 range even every other week. He should not have probably been ranked as high as he has been for quite some time. And I mean, honestly, like me even having him at like wide receiver 24, 25 this week doesn't feel good, but he's talented enough that like you've got to at least respect it. But man, Mike Evans for a long time was like a locked in top 10 guy, but he's no longer that. So like you might have some better options at this point. I mean, like I got guys like Christian Watson ahead of him. I mean, that's how crazy it is. So,
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Mike. Who else?
Totally turning the wrong way, unfortunately.
All right, so
At the worst possible time.
it is the worst time. It is the worst time for this to be happening here. But we'll move on to our next playoff loser. And next we got coming in is the Jacksonville running back here, Travis Etienne, AJ. All right, I know you're kind of a big fan of him. All right, give me tell me what's going on here. Give me some stats. Give me the lowdown.
I mean, what's there to like, really? I mean, we all were super stoked when James Robinson got traded, thinking, okay, well, this is the signaling of, Travis Etienne's coming to party mode, whatever. But he hasn't done anything since the bye week. And you would think usually when you go on a bye, you get to rest and kind of build yourself back up. He just doesn't seem to have it. Now, Baltimore, granted, he didn't have a lot of snaps percentage because I think he got injured in that game.
He got hurt.
Yeah, so that one we'll kind of throw that out. But even the game right before the bye against Kansas City, 78% snap share, 11 rushes and 45 yards. I mean, that's not going to do it.
He gets game scripted out a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think it's difficult as a fantasy manager to put your trust in somebody with a good amount of talent and who's shown the talent when you don't know whether or not the game script's going to work in his favor. Now, the matchups he has coming up this week, obviously against Dallas, could possibly get scripted out of this game as well. Granted, Dougie P does, he has familiarity with Dallas and playing against them. So that's kind of iffy in my mind. It's a dice roll right now. If you have Etienne, you're hoping that you have a bye this week and you don't have to worry about it. Because then he gets the Jets and Houston. Both, teams that can allow some points. Jets defense has been pretty good most of the year, but he still put up a decent number against Houston earlier in the year, 10 for 71, 3 receptions on 5 targets, 43 yards there. And that was when Robinson was still there. So he only had a 53% snap share in that game. I mean, the percentage is there. It's just whether or not he's going to be used. And that's what scares me with Etienne.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you just said there. Just it's game script for him that I don't like. I think he's going to be sitting and watching a lot. Unfortunately, he's not involved with the passing game as much as we all would like for him to be. viable in those types of games unless you can get to the Houston game with him. But good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good luck getting to that Houston game because you got to make it there first. Like you said earlier in the episode, Joe, it's a week by week survive in advance.
Yep.
All right, so we'll move on to our next disappointment here the past couple weeks, and his name is Gabe Davis. All right, and a great offense that, seems to be struggling a little bit here, Joe. Give us some reasons here or some reasons to feel comfortable benching Gabe Davis possibly this week.
I mean, does anybody realize that Gabe Davis is on the season? He's wide receiver 23. Sounds okay, right? You go through game logs though, and I just went through game logs for Mike Evans. This is worse. I mean, we're talking a wide receiver 12, a wide receiver 1, a 13, and an 8. Outside of that, dude, he's got a bunch in the 60s, in the 40s, in 80s. It's bad. He's so inconsistent. And so, I mean, you're basically, if you're starting Gabe Davis, you're just praying that you get one of these big games, because if you don't, you're getting 5, 6, 7 points at best. It's weird because he's seen some games where he's gotten 7, 5, 7 targets, and he still doesn't do anything in those games. He catches 3 of them or 2 passes. He's got to catch those deep passes for a touchdown, or he's not doing anything for you. So I don't feel good about him. Miami's a pretty tough defense. Chicago's is beatable. But again, he's just so unreliable. I feel like he's a big boom player, but he's more bust at this point. So it's really hard to rely on that. I'm trying to think of where I've got him this week. I've got him at wide receiver
38.
30. Do I have him all the way down to 38?
Mm-hmm.
Did I move him down? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I moved him down to 38. So I didn't like him. So yeah, there you have it. He's outside of wide receiver 3 range.
Yeah.
All right, good. I mean, you make me feel comfortable. I don't know about all you people out there, but I hope you.
But what about Gabe Davis?
All right. Now, I wish I would have rearranged these names here. I wish I would have been able to rearrange these names here, because now that I see that AJ is going to get this next player, it was meant for Joe. All right, but our next player here who started out.
Fine, give him the next one and give me Cooper.
All right, yep. Someone who started out real hot in the season, Amari Cooper. Past couple of weeks, Joe.
So I'm just taking Cooper now, and then he can have. Okay,
Yeah, just
all right.
Yeah. So I'll give him the next one. You get your boy Amari Cooper. All right. Start out hot. Been struggling past 3 weeks since Deshaun Watson's been starting. I mean, do we have reason to no longer think that Amari Cooper is this consistent player he was in the beginning of the season?
I mean, I don't usually do this, but I'm going to toot my own horn, man. A few weeks ago, right before Watson got in here.
Fix your damn mic.
Is it that again?
It's been back. Yes.
I'm glad he called you out.
God.
Well, I don't understand.
Sound like the guy on the freaking Micro Machines commercials. Also dating myself.
I love it. It's great entertainment, guys.
Is that better?
Now yes.
Okay. So I said it in that article. I think it was in the targets and touches and snap one. Is it bad again?
Nope.
Oh, geez. You laughing? Anyway, I said, be careful with Watson coming back. Amari Cooper has been very consistent, the most consistent he has been in his entire career. Somebody you can rely on with Brissett there. With Watson coming in, he's going to be rusty. There's not going to be the chemistry, and we've seen it. right? That exact thing happened. So, I mean, I've got Cooper at like wide receiver 19 or 20 this week right now. I'll say this, Watson at least looked better last week than he did the first week. So maybe there's some progression, although Donovan Peoples-Jones was the big winner of that. It wasn't Cooper. Cooper's the better receiver, we would all think, but I think you don't feel as comfortable, but I do think it's still kind of tough to sit Cooper, unless you've got a lot of really good receivers ahead of him. But, I mean, you might, because Cooper was going pretty late in drafts. So there's at least that. But I'm probably still using Amari Cooper where I have him.
The other thing to look at here, too, is that he is coming off of, a hip injury and whatnot. So he did get back to practice today, and reportedly looked pretty good, but that's something to keep an eye on too, because that could hinder his ability this weekend. They do play on Saturday as well, so he has one less day to really get prepped and ready for the game. He could turn into being a bit of a decoy, and it could be another, DPJ game. So
I mean, you say decoy though, and you would think that last week he would have been, but he still saw 7 targets. He just only caught 2 of them.
Yeah. So
he just doesn't have the connection with Watson right now. That's all there is to it.
Yep. All right. So who do I get now? Do I get to finally talk about some scraps here?
Yes. Yeah. You get to talk about the scraps of the Detroit Lions. I mean, let's be honest. There's not much scraps going around here, except for Jamaal Williams, man. I mean, this guy, he was leading the league in touchdowns. He's kind of, I mean, he still might be, honestly. But the past 3 weeks, not too great, AJ. I mean, is he benchable now?
That's rough. Benchable
is too far. I might be taking it a step far, but Swift is now healthy. He's back involved. He had already taken.
Well, we thought that last week, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah, he had taken over the more of the receiving game, which was really Jamal's bread and butter.
Well, Swift's had the receiving game all year when he's been healthy. Jamal's been the one pounding the rock for whatever reason. Like, it's backwards than what everybody would think.
Exactly.
Because that was Jamal's role in Green Bay. That's why everybody thought that. But it's different.
I mean, he's still number 14 running back on the year in PPR. I mean, it's hard to say bench the guy, but I think he's definitely
tweak.
I think he's definitely more of a flex option for me at this point. And mostly because I have other options that I like ahead of him. One of the leagues I've got, CMC, and then I've got, Tony Pollard. If you've got, I mean,
there's been a lot of waiver wire players. I've got Pacheco, I've got Donovan Knight, and I've got Brian Robinson. A bunch of those dudes were probably guys that you could have picked up off waivers. I've got all 3 of them ahead of Jamaal Williams this week and Swift. Actually, I just don't like that backfield.
Yeah,
the Jets are tough too, man. So
they are.
That's good. It's a hard matchup for them this week, man. So
I mean, to flip it on the other side of things, the Lions the past 3 weeks have been pretty good against the run themselves. So I mean, I don't know if there's going to be a lot of running in this game with the Jets and Lions. But let's turn to a positive note.
Hey, well, real quick. No. So we wanted to add one of our own each, and so my number 1 league loser, playoff loser, is going to be, and we've talked about him already a bunch, Alvin Kamara. You're talking about a guy who's had basically an absolute dud of a season. You want to talk about how many? You want to guess how many times he's finished as an RB1? So top 12 running back in half PPR.
1?
0.
Well, there's at least one. He was the RB1 that the game he scored 3 touchdowns. So that was an obvious one. So you at least knew there was one. But there's been 3. He was RB8, RB10, and RB1. And then he had a 19 mixed into that span of time. He's been outside of RB2 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other times. He's missed 2 other weeks. He's been like back in RB2 2 other times. So like not a good season, man. And yeah, it's going to help him that Mark Ingram is now done for the season. But I mean, they brought up David Johnson, the ghost of David Johnson, off the practice squad. So he's going to get in the mix. This offense is really struggling. I know, for a while there, we were all kind of excited. Hey, Dalton, he's looking all right. Like maybe this is for real. He can make this work. Yeah, that changed really quick. Atlanta's a good matchup at least. He does have a favorable, matchups here. He's got Atlanta and Cleveland back to back. Pretty good. Then Philly, that one's a little tougher, but I mean, Philly can give up some yards. They can just put up more points than almost anybody in the league right now. So still hard to beat them, but he's got some favorable matchups. So that would be the only thing I would say, like, it's going to still be hard to sit him. Man, it's, and like, we know it's going to happen. Right? He's going to have another like 3 touchdown game. He did it like 2 years ago, right? 6 touchdown game in the playoffs, like literally won people, all their leagues that if you got that far with him, but he's hard to trust right now. He really is. It's been struggle bust city for him.
Yeah. So the guy that I'm listing out here for,
yes, I'm glad you changed it. I like this one so much more.
Yeah, I had it flip flopped, obviously. Is Michael Pittman. He's coming in at number 22 PPR right now. Okay, that's pretty solid. Obviously, he's getting tons of snap percentage, snap shares. He's getting tons of targets. But last week against Dallas, he only had 4 targets and caught 2 of them for 16 yards. I mean, Dallas has a good defense, but that's not going to cut it for your playoffs. That's the kind of boom bust, that we're used to seeing from former Dallas Cowboy Amari Cooper. He's got Minnesota this week.
Very beatable
in Minnesota. He's got the Chargers after that at home, and then goes to the Giants. I mean, on paper, they're not terrible matchups, but I just don't think that this is somebody you can trust. I mean, he's really had one phenomenal game this year, and that was against Jacksonville. 2 games. He's
had 2
week.
Good games.
2 good games, yeah.
The very, very first week in the Jacksonville.
Exactly. But since then, I mean, he's hasn't even topped 75 yards. Again, if he catches the targets and they're all going to be going to him, that'll help you in PPR, but it's too risky for me. I'm looking elsewhere. There's plenty of other players that I like, well ahead of Pittman and that I trust.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is my mic bad? I know you guys are yelling at me again.
Good second.
All right. I'm trying to look at his ADA, his average target distance. Pittman, not good. I know that. He is 78th, 6.39. Weirdly enough, he's right next to Amon-Ra St. Brown, but Amon-Ra St. Brown is catching them and running away from people, so it's way better. Pittman is just, his quarterback is not leading him into the good spots, and It's a lot of contested catches. Yeah, it's bad for Pittman. I like that pick for that. So, all right, let's get into our league winners, man.
Yeah, let's go on a positive note. Let's end on a positive note here. All right, and our first.
Should we let AJ take this one?
Yes, yeah,
Eagles.
we'll let him.
Dude, he'll talk for like 30 minutes.
You took
about
2 in a row though earlier. You wanted to toot your horn about Amari Cooper, so let him toot his horn about his Eagles. All right,
we got a timer for him.
The person we're going to talk about here, AJ, that's been just killing it and getting people into the playoffs is Miles Sanders. Are we? Can we trust this hot hand of the Miles Sanders?
Stop.
And,
yes.
The Eagles to continue into the playoffs, though, because you know how this offense is. They can score in multiple ways. They don't need Miles Sanders.
Michael. Do they need Miles Sanders? No, because they have other ways of scoring. Yes. Dude has put up 144 yards and 143 yards in 2 of the last 3 weeks. The game where he didn't shine as much was Tennessee, where he put up 24 yards, yet still managed to find the end zone. And he's not going to help you a whole lot in the passing game because that's where he's not really needed.
They're just not using the running back at all in that situation.
Exactly.
They don't need it.
Yeah.
They don't need to.
Yeah. Which, I thought that maybe he would gain a little bit more traction there with Dallas Goedert going down and missing the last 4 weeks.
Me too.
Really hasn't. But that's fine because they've still won all those games. I mean, he's been a monster this year. Mm-hmm. And he, aside from 4 games, maybe he's really kind of been bad as a starter. He's got Chicago at Dallas. Dallas was one of his okay games earlier. He still had 2 touchdowns. Granted, one receiving and 1 rushing. And then New Orleans and Giants the last 2 weeks. I mean, those games may not even matter. If they win this week and then go into Dallas and take care of business there, they've already locked up the division. They should have locked up the 1 seed at that point. So they can rest guys.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not they will,
I don't know if you rest people for 2 weeks though.
I don't think you do.
I don't think you do.
Plus the New Orleans, they should want to win that game because it only helps their cause more for the draft pick that they fleeced away from them. That's looking to be like a number 4 or 5 pick this year or next year. I mean, so yeah, they should want to put another loss on
absolutely
their record. And the Giants is a divisional game.
Yeah, I mean, it's unlikely they'll play in week 18,
though.
But you're not playing week 18, hopefully, in your fantasy leagues. Dallas and New Orleans, I mean, those are tough defense games, but
I mean, the Dallas game is Dallas game's going to be a hard fought game. It is a Christmas Eve game, so I think that's Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely.
As long as it's high scoring, we don't.
How absolutely crazy is it that Miles Sanders was the 30th running back taken off the board on average, 81st overall, and yet he's like what RB5 right now,
RB10, and
him and Jacobs
on sleeper
8.5 PPR,
8 in standard too.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah, Jacobs is the other one.
I mean, it was all because of
contract
touchdowns
years.
I mean, I got the hesitation. I thought the ADP was a little low on him, but I wasn't in on him either. You didn't like the usage that the usage has completely shifted this year on him.
Yeah.
It's not like he's taking over the backfield. He's only getting like 55, 60%. But last year it was way lower than that. So it was it's way better. And he's scoring touchdowns. That's the difference.
That's
the key.
Dominating the snap percentage, but he's owning it, and and
Yes.
he's finding the end zone. I mean, he's
Absolutely.
he's
All right,
been a touchdown
moving
machine this year.
on.
So great analysis, AJ. We're gonna move on to another positive player here, and I gotta start it off with just the catchy tune, because we're tooting our horns.
No. Please, God, no. Please don't.
With DJ Chark just killing it the past 2
You don't
weeks.
have
with Jared Goff.
kids to hate that song enough as much as me.
I don't.
and
That's
AJ.
why I love getting it into your guys.
I kind of like it.
But
Would.
DJ Chark, I mean, just killing it the past 2 weeks. Jared Goff too was killing it. Probably a correlation there. But
Yeah.
I mean, can we be starting DJ Chark over some of these untrustworthy players moving forward?
I haven't quite moved him into must-start territory. I've still got him around like wide receiver 45-ish, I think, which seems now that I'm looking at it seems kind of low. Well, the matchup this week is rough, so that's gonna play a part in it. Look, he's had 2 really good games in a row: Jacksonville and Minnesota. We know their defenses are absolute dog. You know what? So, yeah, I mean, you got to take this with a grain of salt. Plus, this Detroit offense is way better at home than it is on the road. I mean, I think the stats on like Jared Goff alone are just eye-popping. Like, he's basically like a top 5 quarterback at home, and he's like a bottom 5 quarterback on the road. Like, it's crazy how bad they are on the road. So going to the Jets, not only are they on the road, they're playing a good defense. So this week maybe temper expectations for DJ Chark. But if you can get through and you still got him, you got Carolina. That's on the road too, but Carolina's, a defense that you can feel a little bit better starting him against. And then you get at home against Chicago. Yes. Against in your finals. Like, that's one I love. So yeah, could he be a league winner if you can get to week 17 with him? Absolutely. I think he is somebody who we will be talking a lot about that week as a very favorable matchup. And I'm sure he'll be very popular in DFS that week too, because he probably will be relatively cheap because he'll have a couple down weeks here in a row.
All right. Well, hey, great analysis there. So we'll move on to our next guy here. AJ, what you think about Jerick McKinnon and his hot streak that he's forming here with CEH on the IR? And I mean, Pacheco, he's flowering into a great NFL running back on his own. But McKinnon, I mean, is he worth, putting in some flex spots going into the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, possibly. Definitely with, Pacheco's still kind of inconsistent. What did I say?
You said Pacheco.
Pacheco?
Pacheco.
Yeah. Pacheco.
You said Pacheco.
Potato. It's all the same.
Okay.
I mean, I think this is kind of what we expected from McKinnon, to take over from CEH, but then CEH started off hot and fell flat pretty quick, and then obviously got injured. I mean, the snap shares kind of up and down a little bit too much for me for McKinnon to really want to trust him, but he's got Houston this week, Seattle at home next week, and then home against Denver in the championship, who he just put up 32 points on, mostly because of receiving. And that's the
weird underhand throw pass from Mahomes. That throw was nasty, man. I watched it and I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What just happened?
He's got 3 receiving touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. That's definitely quality upside. Just whether or not he's going to be able to maintain it is what worries me a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, completely understandable. I mean, this is why we got to dive into him and see if it's, a consistent or if it's just boom and bust, kind of like how, Gabe Davis was in the last playoff losers thing.
I think the amount of usage that McKinnon gets is he's got to score.
Yeah.
It's a CEH type of role, like earlier in the season almost.
Yeah, he has to score to give you any sort of value. If he doesn't score, he's not doing anything for you. Like, I mean, you just look at the game logs. I mean, 22 yards, and I mean, yeah, he had 112 yards receiving last week. That was like basically one play. He had like a 70-yard pass reception. Like, that was nuts. Or 56. Sorry, I mean, I just guessed, but it was 56. I mean, like half of that was one play. So like, okay. But the week prior to that, 51 yards rushing, 9 yards receiving. He just scores. So like, okay.
Yeah.
But it's hard to rely on touchdowns. It really
is. It is. So I'm kind of waffling here, guys, on my next player here. I don't know we could talk about him here, I guess. We're gonna go with Bam Knight, Zonovan Knight of the New York Jets. Joe, he's been on a little bit of a tear here lately, and I know Michael Carter came back healthy last week, but even so, he still totaled over 100 scrimmage yards. Is this, kind of changing of the guard without Breece Hall here?
I was actually very surprised to see the usage and the snap count that that the Jets, how they used Bam Knight last week with a healthy Michael Carter. I thought it would be more of a 50-50 split. It was far from it. He saw pretty much everything. So that's very good news. And, like I said, I've got him above both the Detroit running backs. I've got him, right around the bottom end of RB2 range. So, running back is a tough position for a lot of people. We've lost a lot of very good players. Damian Pierce is down. We've lost Ramondre Stevenson. We've lost a lot of very, very talented guys that probably got you here. So if you were lucky enough and took a chance on Zonovan Knight, then you're probably forced to start him, to be honest. And I mean, look, he gets a pretty cushy matchup this week. As we talked about with these Jets, they get the Lions, so you gotta like it a little bit.
Yeah. All right.
Try to keep the chart there.
All righty. So that's pretty much what we got for the winners on the list. So we can go through.
By the way, can I give my one, just because we talked about how bad the Jacksonville schedule is, but I still really like. Oh, sorry. I thought you were moving on to the rankings.
No. Shut up.
Like you were like wrapping shit up.
I was wrapping the list up and going on to our picks.
Fine, I'll just talk.
No, who do you like? I'm interested to find out, actually.
He wants to steal him off the waiver wire before you can get him.
Oh, he's not on the waivers. Trevor Lawrence. Anyway, we talked about how, Etienne is going to be game scripted out of some, out of games here down the stretch. And so maybe, look, you're probably still starting Etienne because, again, running back sucks. So, it is what it is. But Trevor Lawrence is somebody who I still think, despite tough matchups, is somebody you can trust because the volume is going to be there for him. And so, like we're talking about a guy who, by the way, is QB8 on the season. Who would have thought that coming into the year? And
where you at now, Urban?
He is on right. He's on a tear, dude. The last 5 games, QB12, QB8, QB5, QB16. All right, not great. That was actually the Detroit game, which I actually thought he would crush, but didn't. And then number 1 last week against Tennessee, of all teams, who, typically is, not a juggernaut defense, but better than that. He owned them. That was crazy. So, like, I mean, he's done it against Baltimore. He's done it against Kansas City, which is, a decent enough defense, he did it against Tennessee. He randomly didn't do it against Detroit, but look, I know Dallas is tough. He gets the Jets. Houston doesn't let up a lot of passing yards because they just get, teams get up on him really big. So you might struggle that week with him just because the volume, they might get up big and then just whatever. But, although it's funny, like they actually lost to Houston earlier in the year. So who knows? I still think though, like you expect Dallas and maybe you expect the Jets to beat Jacksonville. So that just means Trevor Lawrence is going to have to pass a lot. And so you're going to get yards. You hope you get, late touchdowns when the defense starts, relaxing a little bit. That's what you're going for there with Trevor Lawrence. And I think that plays right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. So the guy I got here is Mr. Cole Kmet. Obviously he was the big hype train tight end coming into the year and didn't initially live up to it, but then he went on a nice little streak from weeks 8, 9, 10, I guess. And then he kind of fell off again. So yeah, he had 5 touchdowns in that 3-week span. But he's back up to 7 targets, 6 targets in week 12 against the Jets. Only caught 3 of them, but last week caught 6 of them and messed around with 72 yards. So if he's going to start getting that production again in the wasteland of tight end, I think that he's going to have some very favorable playoff fantasy matchups for his owners. We already mentioned earlier, they're playing Philly this week. So obviously that's a game that the Bears should be behind in, hopefully, and will need to catch up. Buffalo, same deal. Then he goes to Detroit. All right, well, that's fine. Week 10 against Detroit, he had his best game of the year. So I'm okay with that as well. I definitely like Kmet as a playoff tight end option.
Gotta ask you a question about Kmet, actually. So I saw in my home league that somebody dropped him, I guess, during that stretch where he was like a bum because, the offense wasn't running very well without Fields, etc. So I could drop Chigoziem Akanu, whatever the fuck his name is. But I kind of want to keep him because I feel like he's still valuable and, tight end's a wasteland. So I don't want to give somebody a good tight end in the playoffs. But so the back end of my bench is like Ben Skowronek, who just came off that monster game. So it's like, I don't know. I got Julio Jones. I wish ESPN in Houston would just rule Dameon Pierce out and I could throw him in my IR and I wouldn't have to worry about this decision. But he's still doubtful and I can't move him in there. I don't understand this. Dameon Pierce is not playing this week. Everybody knows this, but apparently ESPN won't do anything. So
Sleeper doesn't either.
Everybody's doing because Houston has not officially ruled him out. That's what's stupid. So anyway, who do you drop? Is it Skowronek? I mean, I got Jalen Hurts. Sorry, Justin Hurts. I'm an idiot. But I picked up Watson just, cause I was kind of blocking at this point, if anybody got into the playoffs and they needed a quarterback. And actually my opponent this week kind of does. So I'm kind of holding Watson just because I don't want to give them Watson. Julio Jones, Dameon Pierce, Ben Skowronek. Those are like my worst play. Chris Moore might be droppable now. I could throw Skowronek in there because didn't Cooks practice today?
Yes.
So if Cooks practice, Chris Moore's pretty doo-doo. So maybe you throw Skowronek in there, drop Chris Moore instead. I don't know. Who do you drop? Like, what do you do?
I would drop Moore easily.
Mike?
Well, Nico Collins didn't practice, so that kind of throws
Do we
Moore
care about
still into
the wide receiver 2 on that?
I mean, if they got to throw the ball, they've been actually doing it pretty well lately. I mean, if Chris Moore can get over 100 yards, I mean, Brandon Cooks isn't really favorable of the team. But yes, it is still not great that Cooks is there because the whole reason Moore was able to get 100 yards was both of them being gone.
Right.
So
Was the
I would
only
drop
one.
more. I would drop more.
All right. So you're throwing Skowronek in or Julio. Figure that one out later.
Julio's question.
And dropping Chris Moore instead. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I've got till
I don't
Sunday
have
to
a
figure it
problem
out.
dropping Julio either, actually.
I mean, I thought about it because he hasn't been good, but
he's just, he's either injured or very mediocre.
I mean, the whole offense, we've talked about it. The whole offense is mediocre, and he's the third option in the passing game, if not the fourth, sometimes behind Cade Otton. So and Rashad White. So it's like, okay. Yeah, I mean, Julio might be the drop there. That's how crazy is that?
That's actually where I was going to go, and then I forgot about it. I mean, I'd be fine dropping him, Moore, or Skowronek, actually. I mean, he hasn't, aside from last week, he hasn't done anything. So, granted, he was behind Cup and whatnot.
Thankfully, I know none of my home league.
He did kind of outplay Allen Robinson for a few weeks earlier on, but...
All right, so I'm dropping Julio? Is that the decision, or is it more?
Yeah.
Who am I ranked higher this week?
I mean, at least Moore is healthy.
That is true.
That's true.
And Julio. Yep, it is Julio. All right, that's my decision. I'm just going to go off my rankings. Probably should have done that earlier. But good banter on the show.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And it was related. So there we go.
Cool.
Did this on purpose.
All
right, rankings reviews. Speaking of rankings, let's do it.
Okay, so first we will start off with the quarterbacks. I'm going to try to rip through these a little bit since we're already over an hour. Excuse me.
Damn. All right.
So this one, Justin Fields, you have at QB6. Dead on with consensus, which isn't the point of my question of why you have him at QB6.
I was wondering where you were going to go with this one when I saw the note.
But do you realize that the Eagles defense has the best opponent's QBR in the league? I think it's like 78 or something like that. Granted, Fields is a different breed. He's probably faster than a lot of the guys on that defense.
I think you're about to make my point for me.
But
just gonna say,
moving on.
I was gonna say, yes, I get it. The Eagles' defense is really good against quarterbacks.
I just think 6 is a touch high for all of you experts.
You are also an Eagles fan, so
touche.
I'm trying to think.
Guy wearing the green shirt.
So let's just throw it out here, right? I'm gonna quick rip through the schedule here. Lions, not a running quarterback. Vikings, not a running quarterback. Commanders, not a running quarterback. Jags, kind of a running quarterback. I mean, he runs, but not crazy. Cardinals, Kyler Murray, yes, running quarterback, but was that a Kyler Murray game? Because I know he got banged up. So did he play October 9th?
He played in that game.
I mean, Kyler Murray's been not great this season, but
no, he didn't play well. 42 attempts.
But he still was QB8 that week, by the way. He ran for 60 yards.
No, he didn't.
Wait.
That's week 9.
Oh,
he ran for 42.
So he was QB12.
Threw for 250.
Okay. Still.
And 1 touchdown.
But I think at this point we know Fields is his legs are, he's going to run way more than Kyler is at this point. So anyway, moving on. Texans definitely not running. Commanders again. Colts, no. Packers, no. Titans, no. Giants, no. So they haven't faced any
What?
running quarterbacks outside of Kyler.
Hello, Danny Dimes was running for his life in that game.
Maybe okay. That's a different kind of running. That's a different kind of running. Anyway,
throw the banner, Mike.
So yeah, I mean he gets the Bears and they get the Bears this week. So look, I mean we've seen it. Like good defenses still have not been able to stop Justin Fields. He got Dallas a couple weeks ago, ran over them. He's been kind of matchup proof because he's been able to run and he gets big runs as well. Like they're not just like, a little 5-yard slide. He busts off like 40-yard runs. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean it does scare me a little bit.
His last few games, QB 8.5, 5.1, 1.75, 6 feels kind of low actually, man. Like he could really crush it. I mean, against New England and Dallas, he was QB 5.
Right.
Good defenses.
Yeah, so, all right. So moving on, we got Ron and Tua are the next two guys I had listed here. You got Rodgers up 3 from consensus at QB 12. Tua right behind him, down 2 from consensus at QB 13. I mean, of the two, who's going to just end up better? I mean, I get you have the numbers here or like the ranking.
Yeah.
I mean, is this kind of the coin toss for these two guys?
I've been flip-flopping them a bunch. There was one time where I actually had to a QB 10 and Rodgers at like 13, and I started, just kind of slid some people around. Just ended up at, it's still got some looking into that one. I mean, the matchup is not good for Tua, and Waddle was non-existent last game, unfortunately, and he's now dealing with a banged up, but he's going to play Tyreek Hill. So like, and we saw what happened last week when that happened. Tua was not good. If he doesn't have his guys, Tua's not going to be a really good quarterback. And honestly, the last 3 weeks, Tua's been pretty. Yeah, I was going to say he's been pretty mediocre. 18, 17. That's his QB finishes. So
granted, one of them was against San Fran, but the other very beatable teams.
Semi, to be expected. Still. And that was also the game that Waddle got hurt in. So you lose Waddle in the middle of that game. That's going to crush you. It's like that very first pass to Sherfield, and then it was like, oh man, it's gonna work, and then no, it didn't. It was bad. I mean, the game against Houston, we talked about it, so you can kind of give him a pass there. Like, they get a big, and then they sat him, and so it was just like whatever. So you give him a pass there. Last week, you sort of expected more. It didn't really work out though. It was just an ugly game. So Buffalo. You would expect this to be, it's going to be a tight, close divisional matchup. I don't know if Buffalo just blows them out. I don't really expect it. It was a very close game last time with the Dolphins actually pulling it out by 2 points. It's in Buffalo this time. It's going to be some really bad weather too. Yeah, that's the other reason why I slid Tua down. In fact, I knocked a bunch of the Miami players down. Is it's going to be some nasty weather there in Buffalo. So like that does impact things. It's going to impact all the offense production in that game. So I don't love Rodgers. It's just kind of the way it works out because the matchups, it's okay.
Yeah, it's a little more favorable. So, all right, moving into running backs, then we've got James Conner, you got at RB12, and that's up 2 from consensus. So pretty close. He's had back-to-back monster weeks. Now we're going in against a somewhat tougher opponent in Denver. But you also don't have Kyler. So is Connor possibly even better than RB12? Is he easily, could you see him in the top, 8 or 9 this week finishing?
Yeah, I mean, you could, because you got to expect without Kyler, they're going to lean on this running game. I still think Arizona wins this game despite Kyler not being there. Denver is just an absolute train wreck, and we know that. And so, they get up, they're going to play ball control, and Connor's going to get a lot of touches. I mean, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, he's 25 carries. Well, 2 games ago, they had a bye week in between. Absolutely crazy. So, yeah, it's it's very favorable. In the game script could be in his favor, and the fact that they're going to rely on this running game. That's why I had them above consensus, despite a pretty tough matchup. I mean, last week was a tough matchup. New England's not easy, and he played very well, and he's being utilized everywhere. It's not just he's the runner, and then they bring in somebody else for the passing game. He's doing it all. He's doing what he did in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, so that would be interesting.
Geno Smith just got into the end zone here. Who was that too? Who did he pass?
Noah Fant.
Was that Noah Fant? That's what I thought.
Nice.
I did miss it. Yeah. So,
all right. So the next guy, I'm not trying to cheat because of the huge number next to his name, but Damian Harris, you obviously have bumped up 31 spots ahead of consensus because they haven't caught up yet. I'm almost assured that they will be also ranking him higher. You've got him at RB21. Mm-hmm. Harris has been, he's still actually listed as questionable, but Stevenson probably
he's not going to play.
I mean, Harris, you got him in RB2 range. Explain yourself.
I mean, it's basically Stevenson's not there. It's a favorable matchup against Vegas. I mean, yeah, the backups performed pretty well last week. Pierre Strong and the other Harris.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, let's be real. Like if Damian Harris is actually on the field, I can't imagine a scenario where he doesn't see the bulk of the carries. So, it's Vegas. They'll move down the field. He'll punch a couple in. That's my thought.
Kevin Harris.
Kevin Harris. Thank you. I just said the other Harris. I kind of forgot. I want to say Kyle Harris, which I knew wasn't right, but so I just didn't say it.
Yeah, no, I mean, Kevin ended up 49% snap share, got a touchdown. So that was kind of his main contribution. 8 touches, 26 yards. Nothing.
Pierre Strong scored too. It was so nuts.
I mean, both of them look decent. Damian Harris, I feel like we've talked about him a lot this year. As far as this was the contract year. We're gonna run him into the ground. Blah blah blah.
Well, he got hurt, and then
they really didn't.
Ramondre Stevenson just took over, so there's nothing he could do.
So it just kind of, their hand was kind of forced in that sense. But all right, I mean, I get it. Without Stevenson there, he should be the lead guy, but I'm not sure if I personally would see him that high. But last guy I got here is J.K. Dobbins, down 6 from consensus at RB28. I mean, flex play.
I mean, he was phenomenal coming back last week. I might bump him up a little bit, but I mean, it's so hesitant. Like, it feels like a week-to-week thing with this team. The offense really just wasn't good last week, despite him actually being good. So you do worry about that. Division game again. Cleveland on the road. I know Cleveland's not anything to really like worry about, but their run defense is actually pretty is bad, right? Yeah, it's actually really bad. So
what's space is out.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I might move him up a little bit. You might have caught me on that one. I'm not gonna lie, but it's so hard. I mean, like Gus Edwards is gonna be involved. Huntley will run. You know, I don't know if I see 120 yards out of him again, man. You know, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
But yeah, QB running back wherever I have him right now, 28 seems kind of low, but he seems to be kind of where he falls right now.
Yeah, he claims he's not still not 100%. So something to watch. I don't know. Myles Garrett is back actually. All right. Moving into receivers here, we got Sausage Egg McLaurin at wide receiver 11. Got him 5 higher than consensus.
You literally brought up McLaurin. Oh my gosh. I was tweaking my rankings while I was at my son's Cub Scout ranking or meeting and looked at the fact that I had him at 11. Was like, do I really? Oh my God. I don't like that. I'll have to fix that one later. Damn it, AJ.
But
I don't hate it though. I really don't. I don't hate it.
Giants was his best game of the year. So
he's been getting better, the last few weeks here. Yeah. So that is something to consider. Again, 2 weeks ago, he had a great game against the Giants.
12 targets.
The Giants, have been a pretty stingy defense all year. However, lately, not so much.
Yeah.
And their offense has been bad. Like the Giants are going in the wrong direction, and the Commanders seem to be going in the right direction. So, I mean, am I going to leave him at 11? I'm not sure, but I'm looking at the guys behind him, and I'm not sure who I would really slide over top of him. I mean, you're looking at if I knew Waddle was fully healthy, maybe Godwin. I mean, we just talked about that defense, that offense. Do we like anything on Tampa right now? Not really. Mike Williams. Yes and no. We know what Mike Williams does, right? He does what he did last week, and then he'll come back and give you 3 points. That's what Mike Williams does. Guys like Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins and Olave, they're behind him. Who am I really putting ahead of McLaurin? And that's what when I was at, when I was doing this and kind of making
anybody in an Eagles uniform. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I've got AJ Brown ahead of him. Leave me alone.
Everybody else. No, I think
tell Devonta Smith to be more consistent, and I would do it. Yeah. He's about as consistent as Amari Cooper has been in years past. Actually, probably worse.
That's a stretch. Let's not get crazy here.
Well,
speaking of crazy, we already talked about Mr. Gabe Davis and Brandon Cooks earlier. Again, you've got Davis at wide receiver 38, which is down 8 from consensus.
I mean, we already know why.
And Cooks, you've got up 50, obviously, because he practiced.
Yeah, I think Cooks is just the adjustment off of the practice report.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to highlight the 50 here. I'm just highlighting position wise for these two guys. I mean, obviously, Cooks was someone coming into this year we thought was going to be, a wide receiver 2.
Yeah,
I mean, fringe low 2. So he just hasn't been there. He's dealt with health issues this year. Davis, I mean, you already kind of talked about him. My thought on the Davis thing is, again, the weather. Obviously, we mentioned, but what about the Cole Beasley factor?
No, Sorry. I'm not.
You say
I'm
that
not.
now.
No.
DFS darling this weekend, Mr. Cole Beasley.
If you start Cole Beasley in DFS, you are losing your money. Good luck. That ain't happening.
Cole Beasley is a
Call
goddamn
me out
machine.
next week if that actually works, but it ain't gonna happen. Now Davis, like I said, he's just I don't trust it. I can't do it. So there's that, and then Cooks. I mean, yeah, it hasn't been pretty with him, but I mean, wide receiver 39 is still not a good ranking. So like,
No, it's not.
whatever. It's not a good ranking. I mean, I look at his game logs here, and he's been 27, 52 and 78, then 14, then 73, 53, 38. There you go, 51, 37, and then 43. So like, when he hits, he's right around 39. So like, okay. I felt like it was fair. Kansas City, they're gonna have to pass a ton. So like maybe you just get volume,
Yeah. And,
honestly, I might start Cooks over
Mills.
Davis, who I have back to back.
Davis Mills is starting, so
Maybe
see if they can.
Jeff Driscoll.
Don't do that to me.
Oh, are you kidding me? Brock Purdy did not get that touchdown. Oh, damn! Did he get knocked out? That dude got knocked out of the 1 yard line. This is gonna be a CMC touchdown.
Nice. I'll take it.
Oh, he got knocked out of the 3. Oh no! Now they're just gonna kneel the ball. No, nobody's gonna get any points. Oh, brutal! Oh, that sucks.
Turds.
No, at least I got the
ESPN.
points for that. All right, moving on. How many points did I get out of Purdy?
Tight end. I've got Evan Ingram. You've got him at tight end 9 again.
16.5.
No plus or minus for the consensus. Everybody's in agreement here that he is tight end 9 this week. But he's coming off of 40
like a
some
40-point
points
game.
are ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean,
pretty crazy.
Is that helping aid the fact that we are now seeing the real Evan Ingram that everybody drafted 12 years ago to get this production? It seems
no, I mean last week was he's going to be an outlier. He had 15 targets, something crazy like that. He did see like 7 the week before that. I do think there's going to be volume here. Like I said, it's against Dallas, so they're gonna be down. I mean, most likely they will be down, so they will be forced to pass a lot. So Ingram will probably get a lot of targets, although their linebackers are really, really good too. So that's just something else to consider. So I'm not chasing last week, but I mean, tight end sucks. So yeah, if anybody's going to get that kind of, target share, you're going to be considered a tight end 1.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
All right. Injuries. Have at.
All right, man. So QBs, Colt McCoy has a neck injury, limited practice. Marcus Mariota was placed on the IR. So Desmond Ridder time. Let's see what happens. I'm not expecting great things, by the way. Lamar Jackson is I don't know. Is he officially out? I know that I don't know if it's been like
yes.
Is it
Yes,
officially okay? I must have missed that. I know it was like questionable up until, but anyway, he's out knee. So Tyler Huntley again. Russell Wilson, questionable concussion. His welt on his forehead. That was pretty nasty looking, actually. Limited practice. So that's actually good that he got a limited practice in already. That's trending in the right direction, but we'll see what happens. Could be another Brett Ripien game. Trevor Lawrence, toe, limited practice. I expect him to play.
Did I catch a Ripien in there?
Ripien? Hell yes, I did. I do the
Ripien.
It's Ripien.
He is the son of the former Redskin.
I say Ripien. I'm sorry. I know who he is the son of.
Doesn't sound like it.
Brett Ripien.
Anyway, moving on.
Shut up. John Wolford is out. So Baker Mayfield time again. Let's see if he can work his magic. And Pickett, concussion, limited practice. So, we'll have to see what goes on there. You want to take running backs?
Sure. Running backs, we've got Mr. David Montgomery, questionable with illness, did not practice. That is new as of today. Aaron Jones is questionable with an ankle. It was a limited practice. There's supposed to be 2 of them. Damian Pierce, we already talked about, doubtful with an Anleke. He is probably not playing. Jeff Wilson is questionable with a hip. Limited practice today. Ramondre, we talked about ankle. DNP, Damian Harris, questionable with a thigh, was a limited practice. Antonio Gibson is on with a foot. He is questionable, limited practice. And his battery mate, Mr. Brian Robinson, is questionable with Saquon's injury, limited practice. Receivers.
Yeah, there's a long list here. So Marquise Brown, questionable illness, did not practice. Chase Claypool, knee, did not practice, questionable. Tyler Boyd, dealing with a finger injury, limited practice, questionable. So it's good to see limited, but I think he's still kind of trending in the wrong direction from what I can kind of understand. So we'll see there. Higgins, on the other hand, though, limited practice with a hamstring. That's a good sign that he's actually going to play, and I moved him up my rankings because of that. Kendall Hinton, there for Denver, questionable, hamstring, didn't practice, and that's only useful information because Cortland Sutton is also questionable with a hamstring, and he didn't practice. So it's like, who the hell is going to be number 2 there?
Dulcich season.
Yeah, right, Dulcich. Yeah, but I mean, do we care if Mr. Brett Ripien plays? Probably not. Brandon Cooks, we talked about him already. Calf, limited practice, so looking up for him. On the other side, Nico Collins, though, foot, did not practice. Kadarius Toney, should we laugh again? Hamstring. Now I am gonna laugh. Limited practice, questionable.
Yep, it's my Hamstein, G.
I'm just gonna find a
I'm
reason to
over you
laugh
too.
about Kadarius Toney every week, only because Davis Pang actually commented on our video last week that we laughed about Kadarius Toney, and I mean, it's bad to laugh about injuries, but it wasn't because of the injury; it was because of the pause note last week, which was kind of funny.
Injured grammar that we all
and then last week we had the pause note next to Kadarius Toney, but it wasn't for him; it was from the previous week. It just didn't get deleted. Anyway, Hunter Renfrow, IR. That's old news.
Yeah, here we are pausing on Tony.
Who the hell put Hunter Renfrow on there? That's old ass news.
Designated to return
he's
from IR.
actually-
I forgot to put that.
He's actually.
I forgot. I'm busy making errors.
What
in
do
my
I
grammar.
pay you for?
Return.
Jeez.
That's it.
Jacoby
You paid me to
Myers,
make errors.
questionable concussion.
That was a legit
Devontae Parker,
thing.
questionable
I'll
concussion. Did not
back
practice.
on that.
Corey Davis, questionable concussion. Deontay Johnson, questionable hip, did not practice. Julio Jones, who I'm apparently dropping, knee, did not practice. And then Treylon
Hey,
Burks, concussion, did not practice still. The second week in a row. That's not a good sign. So he's got to get healthy quick.
All right. The tweet ends. We've got Hayden Hurst, questionable with calf. DNP. Darren Waller looks to be IR return eligible. Hamstring issue that had put him there.
It's on a hamstring?
Hamstein G. Designated to return from the IR with that Hamstein G. Juwan Johnson is questionable with an ankle, limited practice.
I'm just over here dying.
Dallas got
This is what happens an hour and 28 minutes into the show. We just start making fun of hamstings. Hamstings, whatever. I don't even know.
Hamstein G. Hamstein G. Hamstein G. Say it with me now.
Sounds like the monster of Frankenstein.
Dallas Goedert is on the IR, but he is officially designated to return. He took part in practice, could play on Sunday against the Bears. I don't think that they should rush him back. It was always kind of iffy. The 4-week window would be, best case. But personally, I, as an Eagles fan, would rather see him stay out this week and, just be healthy for next week against the Dow sucks ass Cowboys. And Pat Freiermuth is questionable with foot, DNP. That's all we got.
All right.
Jerry's.
So the 49ers took down the Seahawks 21-13. Brock Purdy does it again. So that's it for the show. Good luck in week 15. Join our become a member of Fantasy Six Pack and hit us up on Discord and ask us your questions so you can win your leagues, man. So that's it. Have a good night, everyone. Peace.
All right.